In the middle of a dry and deadly wilderness, when all hope seemed lost, an angel came, not with a sword, but with food. What kind of war sends bread instead of fire? What kind of God sends comfort in the silence of despair? Welcome to Divine War Stories, where we uncover the hidden battles between heaven and earth and the mysterious angelic missions that changed history forever. Subscribe and journey with us beyond the veil. Elijah was done. After calling down fire from heaven and exposing the false prophets of Baal, the fearless prophet found himself running, not from an army, but from a queen. Jezebel's threat sent shockwaves through his soul. He wasn't just tired, he was shattered. Wandering into the wilderness, alone and overwhelmed, he collapsed beneath a broom tree. And in that dry, forsaken place, Elijah whispered a prayer most of us have dared to speak in our darkest moments. Lord, I've had enough. Take my life. No crowds. No miracles. Just exhaustion. Just silence. And a broken man beneath a lonely tree. That's where the story should have ended, except heaven wasn't done yet. As Elijah sank into sleep, hoping never to wake, something completely unexpected happened. An angel came to him, not with thunder or flashing wings, but with a gentle touch. Imagine that, the mighty warrior of God, receiving a meal in the middle of nowhere. No introduction. No declaration. Just a soft whisper of care. Get up and eat. It was simple. Bread baked over coals and a jar of water. But that moment wasn't just about food. It was about divine tenderness. It was heaven saying, "You may have given up, but I haven't given up on you." In the middle of his breakdown, Elijah found something rare, rest wrapped in grace. This angelic visit wasn't flashy. There were no chariots of fire, no armies of light. Just bread. Just water. But isn't that often how God works in our lives? Not always through earthquakes or lightning, but through provision in hidden places. Through the kind of silence that heals rather than condemns. This angel didn't preach. He didn't scold Elijah for running away. He simply fed him. There's something profoundly powerful in that. In the heavenly realm, warfare isn't just swords and shields, it's compassion. It's presence. Sometimes, the most divine intervention is the one that simply says, "I'm here." After eating, Elijah lay down again. Still tired. Still not ready. And guess what? The angel returned. Once more, he touched Elijah and said, "Get up and eat, for the journey is too much for you." Read that again. The journey is too much for you. It's not a rebuke. It's an acknowledgement of the weight Elijah carried. And maybe, just maybe, it's what we need to hear too. That God sees how heavy our steps have become. That heaven is not demanding more performance, but offering more strength. Twice the angel came. Twice he served. That's the language of love in action. With that second meal, something stirred in Elijah. He didn't leap up in triumph. He didn't shout victory. But he did rise. And strengthened by that simple food, he traveled 40 days and nights until he reached Horeb, the mountain of God. Let that sink in, 40 days of survival, sparked by bread from an angel. In a way, this wasn't just nourishment, it was a commissioning. The wilderness didn't end overnight. The threats didn't vanish. But Elijah had what he needed to keep walking. Sometimes, faith is just one more step. And heaven ensures you have what you need to take it. What's wild about this story is how unglamorous it is. When we think of angelic encounters, we picture trumpets and glory, celestial voices, and blinding light. But this is quiet. Tender. Almost ordinary. Which might just be the point. Divine war doesn't always look like fire from the sky. Sometimes it looks like a tired prophet being fed. It's God waging war against hopelessness by sending his messengers to nurture, not to fight. It's a reminder that even in your lowest moment, you are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. Help is coming, even if it's carrying bread, not a blade. There's something even deeper here. Elijah wasn't just physically exhausted, he was spiritually crushed. He felt alone. Isolated. Like his entire mission had failed. But this angelic moment whispers a different truth, that in our moments of despair, heaven is often the closest. Think about it. God didn't appear during Elijah's triumph at Mount Carmel. But he sent an angel when Elijah wanted to die. That says something about the nature of God's love. He meets us not only on the mountaintops but especially in the valleys. When everyone else sees defeat, heaven sees a soul worth saving. This story reveals a different kind of spiritual warfare. Not the clash of kingdoms, but the inner war within the human heart. Elijah wasn't battling Jezebel anymore. He was battling fear, shame, and hopelessness. And that's where the angel fought, by nourishing, by comforting, by reminding Elijah that he was still part of the story. Sometimes, the fiercest battles are internal. And sometimes, angels don't fight with flaming swords, but with a loaf of bread and a jar of water. Because God knows what kind of battle you're in, and He sends exactly what you need to make it through. We often talk about angels as messengers or warriors. But what if they're also caregivers? What if part of their mission is to tend to wounded prophets, to burnt-out believers, to those too weary to pray? The angel who came to Elijah didn't perform a miracle, he became the miracle. He showed that presence can be powerful. That care is a form of combat against despair. That love, pure, divine love, can rebuild what fear tried to tear down. In that moment, the wilderness wasn't just a place of running. It became sacred ground. Because an angel stepped into Elijah's pain and stayed. This encounter with the angel didn't solve everything. Elijah still had questions. Still had fears. But he was no longer alone. And that changed everything. Maybe that's what you need today. Not all the answers. Not instant deliverance. Just the reminder that heaven knows where you are. That help is on the way. That the journey might be too much for you, but not for the one who walks with you. Elijah's story isn't just a story of survival, it's a blueprint for how God restores the broken. Quietly, faithfully, through angels who still walk the earth, unseen but not inactive. If you're enjoying this story and want to continue discovering the behind-the-scenes look at the spiritual wars that shaped the biblical world, subscribe to Divine War Stories. As Elijah continued his 40-day journey to Mount Horeb, something subtle but profound was happening. Each step, each mile, was a declaration. I may be wounded, but I'm still walking. That's what the angel's visit ignited in him. Not instant transformation, but perseverance. And sometimes, that's the greater miracle. Not being pulled out of the fire, but learning to walk through it with renewed strength. Horeb wasn't just a destination. It was where God would reveal something even more personal to Elijah. But first, he had to move forward. That journey, sustained by angelic provision, was part of the healing. When Elijah finally reached the cave on Mount Horeb, he hid inside. The weight of everything still lingered. He was alive, but still broken. And that's when God asked him the question, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" Not a question of location, but of purpose. God wasn't condemning him. He was drawing Elijah out, helping him process the storm within. Elijah responded with honesty, "I've been very zealous for you. But I'm alone now. They want to kill me." It was raw, real. And heaven didn't silence his pain. Instead, God prepared to meet him in a way Elijah had never experienced before. Then came the moment many of us know well, the divine demonstration. First, a powerful wind tore through the mountains. Then an earthquake. Then fire. But God wasn't in any of those dramatic displays. Elijah had seen all that before. What came next stunned him. A still, small voice. That's where God was. Not in the chaos. Not in the spectacle. But in the whisper. That whisper is what the angel's bread had prepared him for. To survive the storm, and be still enough to hear God's voice again. Sometimes, the fight isn't to do more, but to slow down enough to receive clarity. This still, small voice was heaven's answer to Elijah's chaos. And it wasn't just comfort, it was redirection. God told Elijah, "Go back." Not as punishment, but with purpose. He would anoint new kings. He would raise up Elisha, a prophet, to walk with him. Elijah wasn't done. His depression didn't disqualify him. His doubt didn't displace him. Instead, heaven doubled down on his destiny. The angel fed him for a reason, because there was still work to be done. You see, divine provision is always connected to divine purpose. God doesn't just restore us for comfort. He restores us for mission. The angel that fed Elijah wasn't just a messenger. He was part of a heavenly strategy. A rescue mission sent to reignite a prophet who felt finished. And that's the hidden beauty of this story. Angels aren't only deployed to stop armies or destroy cities. Sometimes, they come for you. For your loneliness. Your fatigue. Your heartbreak. They come to touch your shoulder in the dark and whisper, "Eat. Drink. The journey isn't over." In that moment, Elijah wasn't just a man running from fear. He became a man running toward destiny again, fueled by the unseen hand of heaven. So, what does this mean for us today? It means the God who sent an angel to Elijah still sees his children collapse under trees. It means that wildernesses aren't always signs of failure, they can be sacred places of restoration. It means when you feel most alone, you might be closer to divine visitation than you realize. The world sees weakness and walks away. But heaven sends help. That's the nature of God. He doesn't just command us to keep going, he provides what we need to do it. Whether it's strength, clarity, or just bread and water, heaven delivers. Think about the timing of it all. The angel didn't come before Elijah ran. He came after. After the burnout. After the breakdown. That matters. Because it reminds us that failure doesn't scare God. Doubt doesn't disqualify you. Elijah had just seen fire fall from the sky, and the next day, he was begging to die. That sounds a lot like us, doesn't it? One day full of faith, the next consumed by fear. But still, God pursued him. Still, God sent help. Not because Elijah was strong, but because he was chosen. And chosen people get fed in the desert, even when they're falling apart. That angelic bread didn't just sustain Elijah, it rewrote his story. Without it, the prophet of fire might have died under a tree. Instead, he became the man who would later appear beside Jesus on the Mount of Transfiguration. Imagine that, a man once too tired to live becomes one of two heavenly witnesses standing with the Son of God. That's what heaven's nourishment leads to, transformation beyond imagination. The angel's simple act of care wasn't just about survival. It was about destiny. About legacy. Elijah's story didn't end in the wilderness. And yours doesn't have to either. So the next time you feel like Elijah, done, drained, and hiding from your calling, remember the angel. Remember the meal. Remember the God who doesn't yell from the skies but whispers into caves. Who sends angels not only to fight, but to feed. Your wilderness might be real. Your pain might be deep. But heaven sees you. And if Elijah's story is any proof, angels still walk into deserts. They still touch the weary. And they still carry the quiet power of God's grace. Maybe you don't need to fix everything right now. Maybe you just need to eat. And get up. If this story stirred something in you, you're not alone. These are the moments where heaven touches earth, where divine war looks like quiet mercy. And here on Divine War Stories, we're just getting started. So if you want to keep exploring the hidden battles, angelic missions, and supernatural encounters that shaped history, join us. Subscribe, share, and let others know that their wilderness isn't the end of their story. The journey may be too much for you, but never too much for the one who walks beside you. We'll see you in the next battle.